What's up, guys? Bruce here, Dirtbaggery, another video. Tonight we are going to be doing a review of the 5th book in the Land and Sea universe, which I love so very dearly. And this one is called Ratchet's Run. Once again, it is a standalone novel. It's not part of a trilogy or a larger series. It is a standalone novel in the Land and Sea universe. And it's a hoot. It's fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite one because Storm Surge is my favorite one, but I haven't read a Land and Sea book yet that I have not enjoyed. So I'm excited to get into this one. Quick announcement before that, I did see announced an official release date for the 7th book, which is Cyclones of Chaos, and it will be released on Kindle and on Amazon. I think actually it might just be the ebook, released on August 17th. And then I think the audiobook is coming a couple weeks after that. Something's going on. The narrator hit a snafu. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but either way, we're getting the electronic book on August 17th. So that's dope. I'm going to be looking for that. You can actually pre-order it right now on Amazon if you are so inclined. I would recommend doing that. I read all the other ones on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm probably going to stick with that. But if I can't, then I'll just buy it on Kindle because it's totally worth it. If you're looking for a single story that you can just enjoy and you don't want to have to read an entire series or anything like that, and you want to maybe get into Land and Sea, honestly, this would be a really good story to go with. You don't have to know anything about like the history as far as like Splashdown and all those other books. You don't have to know about any of the main characters from the mainline story arc from the trilogy. Like everything's explained enough that you would understand what's going on in this world, like what the conflict is, and then you just enjoy the story. So if you were just like, I don't want to read just one Land and Sea book, I would probably recommend going with Ratchet's Run. It's a great standalone novel. I did finish Destroyer of Worlds by Larry Correia. I haven't got the next book yet, which is Tower of Silence. But I had a couple of the books that are in my TBR that I have on my shelf. I was going to read The Great Gatsby, but I got like 20 pages in. Snore. Not really worth it just for a video. Maybe if my videos got a ton of views, okay, I would stick it out and do it, but it's really not my bag, man. I gave it a shot. It's just, yeah, I'm going to have to say, as of now, yeah, I agree it's overrated. That being said, I moved on to the next book in my TBR list since I don't have Tower of Silence. I'm reading the next part in the Dune Chronicles, which is Dune Messiah, book 2. So far, love it. It looks like it's much shorter than the first book. But yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised how much I like the Dune Chronicles. Dune Chronicles. Anyway, that's all I got for the intro. Let's get into the review of Ratchet's Run. A super fun premise. All right, so the official blurb, give you a little rundown of Ratchet's Run. In the autumn of 2040, Beverly Hills is behind the front lines, deep in the the alien incursion zone. 4 times mankind has tried to take back the hills. 4 times mankind has been beaten back. But now word leaks of a treasure trove, a secret bank in Beverly Hills where the rich and famous keep their wealth. And for some, the allure is too much to pass up. The result is an all-out mad dash where fellow treasure hunters can be as lethal as the alien forces defending their turf. A private military contractor, a battle-tested army unit, a grizzled militia, a pair of rogue Asher pilots. These are among the players throwing caution to the wind as they take on alien invaders in pursuit of treasure and glory. The 5th battle for Beverly Hills is on. So that's the official blurb on Amazon to kind of sum up what the story is about. Really, really fun book. I'm going to break down some more things I liked about it. But suffice it to say, yes, this book is fun. I recommend it. Let's get into a little more detail as to what I like about it. There's a few different POVs and basic lead characters. As that synopsis kind of showed, there is the private contractors, there is the army unit, there is the militia unit, The two Asher pilots are actually, they're not a separate thing. One is part of the army unit and one is part of the private contractors. So they are part of those teams existing already. And I'll kind of break into what I like about each of those characters. Lieutenant Frank Casper Ryland, he is the officer in charge of this army unit called Ghost Legion, which are a pretty badass squad of people. I mean, they go into the Az and I think they're pretty sneaky about kind of how they do things, but they F stuff up, dude. We get introduced to Frank and we pretty quickly realize that the guy's got a pretty serious case of OCD, and I feel like that's pretty good characterization. I like how I like how Blaine uses Frank's OCD to kind of help with characterization for Frank's character. You get like he has trouble, like he literally can't sleep because he's got this ID in his head after this pop star named Ratchet, hence Ratchet's Run, comes in and basically is like, I need the military to go into this bank in Beverly Hills and get my safety deposit box. I don't think it's a spoiler because that's basically the whole premise of the book, and it happens pretty early. Like that's what they're trying to do. So I'm not going to count that as a spoiler. But anyway, once he kind of like that gets sparked off in his head, he literally can't sleep. He's so OCD about it that he starts crafting all these plans nonstop, and he gets like super obsessed. That I don't know. You just get this, like, even though he's plotting to commit a crime and he's this obsessive character, he's also like a really good man. Like he cares about his squad. It's kind of an interesting like dichotomy because one, he wants to like sleep, right? That's kind of a driving force to why he wants to even do this illicit crime, even though he has a career in the military, is like he just wants to be able to sleep. So he's got to get this idea out of his head. That's kind of like his mental illness, I guess. But on the same token, he also sees that they've basically been fighting, as I read in there, they've had 4 battles for Beverly Hills. This is going to be the 5th one. I don't know. It feels like a stalemate. He's losing men. They're not gaining ground. It seems like they're just going out, maybe dying, maybe not. But if they do die, it's like, why are they bleeding? Why are they dying? Why are they sweating? Like, what do they have to show for it? Right? So it's kind of demoralizing. He's got some like an older sergeant in his squad who probably isn't going to be able to retire now because the war's on. So they're like, what are we doing? Like, we can't, like, all the things we're promised from our military service, stuff like that, we might not even get to cash in on it because we're probably going to die in this war. Like, what are we doing? So he has this kind of like two-prong motivation where he is just obsessed with it and he wants to do it just to get it out of his head. And he also wants to take care of his men and make sure that they basically get rewarded for everything they do. So he's a really cool character, and there's a lot of officers kind of portrayed that, I mean, when in the military, it's a common enough trope where O's maybe aren't the hardest chargers. They might be a little full of themselves, maybe don't know what they're talking about, but since they're in authority, they don't listen to people they should be listening to just because they outrank them, kind of situation, prima donna kind of thing. Frank is definitely not that. He is a lead from the front kind of soldier. So yeah, I like Frank a lot. He's a cool character. The leader of the militia unit is Mark Punchless Stevens. He, just like Frank, he's very concerned about his people's well-being. So before the war, he was, I think he was a contractor, like he owned a construction company or something along those lines. And he had all these people working for him. But then obviously the war started out and there's no work. And he felt responsible for them. So he was like, I need to find a way to get these people paid. And they ended up going in the militia, or forming a militia to earn money that way. Dangerous way to earn money. It's not super lucrative. It's a hard, even when you're not fighting, it's still like a hard life just to be living on the border of the Az, right? So he's got this like sense of responsibility. Like he needs to watch out for these people beyond just keeping them alive in combat, but actually making sure that they are able to like support their families. That's like a big weight that he carries around with him that he has to worry about. And so it's not which you would think maybe it was his idea to kind of hatch this scheme, but it was the Lieutenant Frank Ryland of Ghost Legion, he kind of brought this up because he knows that Mark's militia has a good reputation. So he goes, approaches him once he kind of susses out that it's like even safe to broach a subject, because obviously it's highly illegal to go loot things, especially when you're in the military. That's even worse because you got the UCMJ and you got civilian laws to worry about. So yeah, his crew's pretty much down to go because they have families where they're fighting because one, like, yeah, they're humans and they want to like help humanity survive this conflict, but they also like want to eat. They want to support their families. And same with the army crews. They're kind of like, what are we doing here? We're just like going out, fighting, killing some fish that doesn't really seem to matter. Even if you like kill a bunch, there just seems more to come out. It's just this constant, never-ending grudge match that really, like, there's this sense in the like all the books really that whatever ground we have held on to, we've only held on to it because the fish don't really care that much to take it, kind of thing. Like, that's what it feels like. So you're like, what are we doing here? It's like, I feel like the fish, if they really, really wanted to take something, they could take it. But that might not be the case. It might just be kind of a sense that you get. It might be how the characters kind of portray how they're feeling that makes you feel that way. Like, oh my gosh, like, what are we doing here? We're going to get so blasted. And then there's the private contractor who is basically, you know, kind of your more typical, like, you know, out for yourself, cutthroat, just want to make some money. Kind of what you'd expect out of a character like that. But really good. An important element to have in the story. I can't say I like any of those characters. Their company's kind of cool in a like badass sense, but not in an ethical sense. I don't much care for them. But I think that's kind of the point. Like, I think they're supposed to be like the bad guys, other than the fish. Obviously, the fish are the villains, but in this story, there's, you know, a couple of different moving parts. And so here's our human villain. Spartan Associates is the name of the private contracting company. And after the army turns Miss Ratchet away, she goes to them because Lieutenant Ryland at the time wasn't originally like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go take what she said and go rob her vault. No, he was like, oh, you should go talk to the Spartan Associates. They're probably, you know, they can probably do something like that. And then later he's like, you know what, maybe I can actually go swoop in and take her, say, you know, go, not just hers, but like the whole bank. But yeah, so Lieutenant Ryland sends her off to Spartan Associates, and they do take the gig, despite it being illegal, because you can't go looting in the Az. It's banned federally. So they take the gig. They ask for money up front. They are able to locate an Asher that was made, I believe, is made by a competing company to the company that actually builds the Ashers. And so they produced a bunch, but they never went into actual field service. So they picked this up. They found a veteran who washed out of the Asher program to be the pilot on this rig. I can't remember what the company was, but it's not really important. So we end up with the Army unit partnering up with the militia, and also getting an Asher pilot who's kind of a rogue maverick, plays by his own rules kind of guy. He's like this Scottish dude. I think McLeod is his name, and he's got like whatever that, I can't remember what that like plaid. It's like a plaid cod piece or something that goes over a kilt that like Scots wear. He's got like something like that on his Asher to kind of like, you know. I think his picture might be his family crest or something. I don't exactly remember, but I think that's what it is. You have that. So you have the Army unit teamed up with the militia and that Asher pilot. And then you have the Spartan Associates who have their own Asher pilot kind of working on their own. And then there's like this Army liaison officer that works between the Army and the militia. And the militia kind of have to like work around her because she's super by the book. And they can't let her know that they're working with this Army unit to go rob a bank. But she becomes more of a POV character as the book goes on. Like, we start getting more scenes from her point of view. And I actually really like her point of view because it's an interesting like tension that she adds, because she's like, these people aren't bad, right? They're not like evil criminals. They're just like, dude, we're getting our butts kicked all the time. We want something to show for it, right? Like, they're not evil. They're just trying to go make some money off of rich D-bags who left a bunch of stuff back in a war zone. Like, I mean, not to get like super deep into ethics, but it honestly does feel like a victimless crime. But she's like so by the book, and then she ends up feeling, I hope this isn't a spoiler. God forgive me if it is. I'm not going to say like what ends up happening with her, but I will say I really enjoyed kind of her as she became more prevalent. Like, she's there, like in another character's POV, she's in the scene. But once we start getting her POVs and they come a little more frequently, I really enjoy the arc that she goes on. I don't want to get too much into what happens because I don't want to give it away. But you also get this, I don't know, this kind of sense between like honor amongst thieves kind of thing, even though they're not like really thieves, like especially with the army unit and militia, like they're fighting the good fight, right? And it's cool to see these two units that they're doing this thing that's super illegal, and they both kind of are like, is this a trap? Is the other person going to turn me in? Like, we don't know. They have to like trust each other a lot to pull this off, and it's kind of fun to like see like how that works out, and then the kind of camaraderie that these two groups of strangers kind of built over this illicit act that could literally get them killed, either by aliens, a competing group of treasure hunters, or their own government. Oh, something else I really liked about this book was it gives us a little bit more insight into like what the public opinion is, like American citizens' opinion is of the war, and how the military is performing in the war, which, at first thought, you're like, why? It's literally like a fight for survival. And people are like, I don't know, being political about it, I guess. Like, you could possibly be facing extinction, and there's, generals or whoever, colonels that are like trying to get ahead or like worried about how they look and wanting to like outperform their predecessors. Because that's kind of like in the base that they're in. I think it's a makeshift base right off the Az. It's like a colonel came in to replace another colonel who got booted because he wasn't making enough progress. So now this new colonel is all like gung-ho, like I want to mix it up and like do something crazy and try and like gain some ground back, because he wants to basically gain public approval. So I don't know. I like that insight where like you wouldn't even think that like, you would have to worry about what the public thinks about your performance, like just survive. But apparently people are getting fired for how the public is looking at them. And I might be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember, like, I feel like I remember that. I could be wrong. I might be remembering that correctly. I read this book like months ago, and I just decided to start my YouTube channel. So I've started with Langdon Seed, and I'm going to go review other books. But I'm rambling. I ramble a lot. I got to get this thing reeled in, dude. So yeah, there's that. Oh my gosh. Blaine introduced this. I don't know if it was his idea or if Brett Evans came up with it, but this is the first story we see where there's like religious fanatics that are, I don't know if they're worshiping the fish, but they're like, oh, the fish are sent because we're destroying the planet and we're being punished. Hilarious. You know what they feel like? They're like religious fanatics who I can only imagine would see someone like Greta Thunberg as like their patron saint. Like that's what they feel like. And they're only they're just in like a little tiny scene, but it's funny. It's just like a little fun. I'm not gonna say it's an Easter egg, but it's a fun little, scene, treat, whatever you want to call it. I really like that. It's funny. Honestly, I hope there's like more. I could honestly take, I don't know if maybe a full short story. If you could find a way to do a whole story around the religious fanatics, that would be, I don't know. I would read it. I would pick it up. So just throwing that out there. I think it's really fun that I love that he set the battle in Beverly Hills. That's kind of hilarious because it's this area that's like It's wealthy, it's posh, it's high class, high society, and just gets demolished and turned into this chaotic war zone with death and fighting and burglary. I don't know. It's such a contrast to how our real world is to see it like that. It's a very it's a funny scene. Like it's a great setting for such a chaotic battle. So I'm really glad that he chose to make Beverly Hills the scene of a war zone / bank robbery done by the U.S. military. I love it, dude. That's so funny. Without giving too much away, I will say there is some sweet, sweet karma in this book. So look out for that. And the ending, I don't know how to talk about the ending without basically just spoiling the whole thing. So I will just say that I really enjoyed the ending. Left some things open where we don't really need those things buttoned down and answered. It's kind of nice to leave them open because you're like, oh man, what's going to happen in the future? And who knows, maybe he turns that into another book. I don't know. But I did enjoy that. The ending I thought was nice. Enjoyed it. Like I said, great book. Pick it up if you want to read just a single Land and Sea novel. This is the one I would recommend you read. If you're just going to do one, make it Ratchet's Run. That almost rhymed. Anyway, that's all I got for Ratchet's Run. Again, I enjoyed this book. I enjoy all Land and Sea. I'm super excited for Cyclones of Chaos to come out. Go pick it up. If you want to read a book, go read Ratchet's Run. I highly recommend it. I loved it. I can't wait for August 17th to come, so I'm getting that motherfucking book. And comment if you've read it. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought. What was your favorite part? Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys for my next book review, which will be Tides of Redemption. See you guys later.